Hey guys, Dylan here, and today we are starting up a new series called Sonic Discussions. Today we are going to be talking about Ian Flynn's run on the Sonic Archie comics. This is going to be a multi-part series, and I wanted to start where he started, and that is with issue 160. I'm going to be reading my Twitter thread. I know that's pretentious, but it's because that's basically my script. I did a lot of research, being sure that everything I said in this thread was true. So you're gonna have to take my word on it. I went back and I fact-checked it all. So if I said a character died, they definitely died. If I said this happened, it definitely happened. I went back and fact-checked it multiple times. So one of the things I want to talk about in the beginning of this is there's a lot of people out there that will see me talking about Flynn and will think I am a supporter of Penders. I am not a supporter of Ken Penders. I don't really like Ken Penders. I've complained about him a lot, if you know me personally. I'm not a fan of the guy, and one day I will talk about Penders. Today is not that day. But one thing I have to say right now is I will be talking about how Ian Flynn was given this world full of characters, was given this world full of plot, this world that had its own unique identity, and how he slowly destroyed that world, destroyed those characters, and destroyed everything that made that world unique. So let's get into reading this thread. Let's get into talking about the death of the Sonic Archie universe. This thread will document all the changes Flynn made towards the Archie Sonic the Hedgehog comic books. I am starting with issue 160, since that's when he became the head writer. The first thing I noticed was in issue 160 is the art style change. I didn't mean that it was just a different artist either. I mean the characters were literally drawn differently. The characters became shorter, cuter, and drawn in a style more like the game's artwork. And I share multiple photos here, drawing out the comparisons between the two art styles. This is the new art style, where Sonic has shorter quills, and everyone else is drawn shorter. And these are the old comics, which this style had been around for 20 or so issues, where it's hyper-realistic. Sonic has really long quills, Tails has really long hair. It's a very unique look, and they got rid of that to make it look more like the video game style. Amy is now jealous of Fiona, despite knowing her and Sonic was a thing for a bit, and not showing any signs of jealousy before this issue. And yes, I actually went back to every issue that they were dating in to be sure that Amy didn't give a shit about them being together. This seems to be an attempt to get Amy to act more like her video game counterpart, and this isn't the last time Amy will do that either. Ian adds flames to Scourge's jacket. Now this is the part that people are gonna get mad at me for, because a lot of people like Scourge, and I like some of Scourge's plots too, but I'm still standing with what I say here. Ian Flynn adds flames to Scourge's jacket, changes his leather boots to red and black sneakers, adding an unneeded complexity to such a simple design that always worked. He also changes Rouge into her SA2 outfit. Now, Scourge originally looked like this. He had a biker jacket and some boots. His colors were very simple, blue and black. Now, he has, in this style before he changes colors, blue, green, red, yellow, black, and gray. That is so many different colors, all going on at once, and it doesn't really change. It's just there will be more green in a second. Scourge is then transformed in multiple ways in the attempts to make him look more original, in quotations. But in reality, he looks like an early 2000s Sonic recolor. He now has edgy scars, and the color of his fur and eyes swap, turning his fur green and his eyes blue. Now, I want someone to tell me, what is the difference between Scourge the Hedgehog at this point and Cold Steel the Hedgehog? The answer is Scourge doesn't wear Jinko jeans. That is the only answer. Scourge doesn't wear Jinko jeans. At this point, how do you even know he's an original? How do you know he's Sonic? How do you know he's Sonic from another universe? Robbo the Hedge isn't Sonic from another universe, and he's a different color and looks practically identical to Sonic. Changing his name is just going to trick new readers into thinking that this guy isn't Sonic. When he was called Anti-Sonic or Evil Sonic, you could tell that this guy is Sonic. Now he doesn't really look too much like Sonic. He has scars when Sonic doesn't have scars, and he's fucking green, ruining the whole point of his design. Every time before this, Scourge had been used to impersonate Sonic. The fact that he looked identical to Sonic was the whole point of him existing. Flynn undermined the meaning of his character and ruined the one thing that he had going for him up until this point to make him quote-unquote cooler. And some people will complain about that. They'll be like, Dylan, I really like the storylines with Scourge now. I mean, before, Scourge would show up at any point and him or his men would impersonate people and then they would cause havoc. If you do this, then that means he can't do that anymore. So now, from this point onward, Scourge just has to show up and fight, and then lose. That's all Scourge does after this. He pops through a portal ring, tries to fight Sonic, gets his ass kicked, or kicks Sonic's ass and then runs away. That's all Scourge does after this, and then he gets arrested. The end. The one thing Scourge had going for him is now gone. He looked like Sonic. That was the one purpose he had to the plot, and Flynn ruined that for no reason. No reason. And finally, Ian's new OC that he definitely did not steal needed a new name. Evil Sonic, that name sucks. Anti-Sonic, that name is lame. With names like that, you can tell that he's Sonic's counterpart. Nah, let's give him the name Scourge. Giving him a new name definitely won't confuse anyone. And now we move on to the next issue, issue 161. And Ian already starts to show how much content he has for this comic and its universe. Sonic sees a well-known character who appeared multiple times throughout the comic as an antagonist, Crocbot, and openly laughs at him. He laughs at him to the point of tears. This is Ian just straight up showing that he doesn't respect the universe that this comic had. Because despite him looking goofy, he has been a threat. And I go on more in depth about this. Crocbot, to this point, was always presented as a threat, and characters did not underestimate him. Every time he came back in the comics, he became more powerful by constantly upgrading his robot body. You can think that the tank part looks goofy, but unlike his new tentacles, it was actually deadly. Now you see that even from the start, he looks scary. He's really sharp, he's really menacing, he's even kidnapping Mobians and threatening to kill them. You can see here, he's trying to kill someone. You can see here, he has Tails held up and he's going to kill him. Even with the tank body, he can still shoot down most structures. Being a tank is not something to laugh at. People laugh at it because it looks like he has a dick, but who fucking cares? He's still a threat. The tentacles are just goofy. In just a couple panels, Ian took a character that was a threat and made him a joke, ruining the legacy of this character. And that's not something that's going to stop anytime soon. And despite him being a legacy character, Crocbot is immediately destroyed by Ian's totally new character Scourge. Sonic and Shadow help too, but oh man, Scourge is cool. And yes, they kill him. He's dead. He screams no and dies. The end for him. We now skip ahead to issue 163. Mecha was introduced 30 or so issues before this one, and was the robot daughter of Robotnik. Mecha is killed off in this issue not by Sonic or by any hero. She self-destructs, killing another important character anticlimactically. And that's it. She just blows herself up, and then she's dead. This character that barely existed for 30 issues is dead, and that's it. She's gone, because Eggman doesn't have kids. Eggman doesn't have kids in the game, so he can't have them here. They have to die. That brings our death count up to 2. Flynn has just started working on the comics and he's already killing off characters he didn't create. And this trend continues on to the next issue when we see the death of yet again another character that Ken Penders created. This time, it is Sir Connery that is on Flynn's chopping block. R.I.P. He lasted between issues 45 to 164. His death brings our count up to 3 so far. And he gets a heroic death, but he turns to dust. And remember, that's something that will continue on. He turned to dust. He died. The end. The character that was important to the world building of Knuckles and actually helped out Knuckles is now dead. Issue 166, and we get a double whammy of egotism from Ian Flynn. To not talk your heads off a bunch about small stuff that you don't probably care about, I will summarize the complaints into 2 parts. Part 1. Ian took the bright and happy future that Ken made for the characters and made it dark and angsty, much like his own shitty fan fiction, which is Other M. I have a review of that. If you want to know more about that, go check that out. Sonic lost his life, his wife, and his kids. This was so bad that Ian wanted Sonic to have a breakdown and cry from the pain, and they told him not to. The people in charge didn't want Sonic literally bawling his eyes out because all of his loved ones are gone. Part 2. This was Ian's first attempt to adapt his shitty comic Other M into the Archie canon. Don't believe me? Here's some proof. Number 1. The Chaotix are the enforcers in both Other M and this arc. 2. King Shadow is really similar to Guardian Knuckles in personality and plot relevance, and is taking a character that you thought was somewhat good and turning them completely evil. And we see on the sign, the Chaotix are watching. The Chaotix are the enforcers in there. King Shadow, King Knuckles. It's the same fucking shit. I could complain more about how this really paints Shadow in a bad light as a character, but that would take forever, and I'm going to move on to the next important issue. We now move on to issue 168, and we continue the trend of killing off characters that other people made. This time, the Ancient Walkers, who were created by Mike Gallagher, all the way back in 1995. These characters were chaos demigods who played a major role in the world building of the comics. These major deities got the death they deserved, that being an off-screen one, and not even being acknowledged till many issues later after they died. This brings our death count up to 4, and we see that it says the dimensional ripple caused by Nagus' escape went on to destroy the Ancient Walkers. And that's all they get. That's their death. The end. And we end issue 168 much like how we started it, with yet again the death of another important older character. This time it is Antoine's father, bringing our death count up to 5. Good job, Ian Flynn. Not even 10 issues in, and we have 5 characters dead. In issue 169, Ian does more to destroy the continuity of the original comics to make it more like the continuity of the games. This time, he takes out the billions of Chaos Emeralds that made Archie's world unique, so he could get us one step closer to there just being 8 emeralds like there are in the games. We see that all these emeralds are being pulled together and they are now useless. Having a bunch of emeralds is what made this continuity unique, and Ian Flynn has to get rid of that. He is destroying part of the world-building process that other writers before him set up. Flynn shows off that Tommy was infected by a liquid metal virus, an idea that I'm sure will never be repeated again, and then before much can be done with it, both Tommy and Adam, which is the son of Eggman, blow up and die. Sonic even catches the ashes of his dead friend. Classy as always, I see, Flynn. This brings our death count up to 7, and you can see him grabbing the ashes and saying his friend's name, as he almost cries, because Flynn loves torturing his characters, and Tails actually does cry, because Flynn loves torturing his characters. Issue 171, Ian had it revealed that Fiona was evil, and had been cheating on Sonic and Scourge, making Fiona a liar, a cheater, and forever ruining the redemption arc she had been on before Flynn became the head writer. And I'm actually kinda wrong there, because it turns out that the evil stuff was something that Flynn introduced. Her being evil in the past was an idea of his, and was introduced in the comics that he wrote. So he not only made her evil in the past, he made her evil in the future, turning this character evil. So this is the first time a character who had not been evil switched coats and turned evil. And some people might say that in the Tails mini-series she was evil. That wasn't her. That was a robot duplicate of her that Robotnik made. That wasn't Fiona. Fiona is not that character. And we can see here that she lied to Sonic, and she was manipulating everyone, and she cucked him for Scourge. She cucked him for Scourge and went on to be evil. In issue 175, Ian felt that he had been too nice to Sonic, and wanted to traumatize him again. And what better way than to capture everyone that he cares about, and destroy everything that he has spent 171 issues fighting to rebuild. Let's break this bitch for fun. We can see here that Sonic sees all of the kingdom being completely obliterated, all of his friends are evaporated, and then he has a mental breakdown as he goes to fight Eggman. And then he's left broken, beaten, and not sure if his friends are even okay by the end of the issue. Don't worry, nobody dies, and they get a new E-Kingdom out of it. This one being made of nanites from Nicole, she even explains it there. That's definitely worth it, and wouldn't traumatize anyone. That's one thing that Ian Flynn doesn't focus on, that how these events would affect all characters involved, how the events would affect the readers involved. This is a series intended for children or preteens, and Ian Flynn is killing off a ton of characters and is constantly putting the characters through traumatizing situations. At least in the old continuity, continuity, when characters would be roboticized, there was a chance of them coming back. But in this continuity, you get completely blown up and die and turn to ashes. What a wonderful comic for children. In issue 177, it was revealed that Charmy had suffered brain damage from the ordeal. This was done so Flynn could rewrite how he acts and make it fit more in line with the video game counterpart. I get the intent, but this just kind of makes a tragic character from a happy one. And it is tragic because now he has brain damage and he really will never act the same because he's mentally handicapped. In issue 181, Knuckles reveals himself to be the new Innerjack. Shortly before that, Innerjack killed an unarmed Cage Von Stryker, turning Knuckles into a confirmed murderer. This brings our kill count up to 8. And you can see here, that's when Knuckles reveals himself, and this is this guy. He didn't have any weapons on him. He's like roboticized, but he wasn't really a threat to the guy. Knuckles had all power that he could possibly possess at that moment, but he still disintegrated him and mocked him while doing it. So Knuckles is now evil. He took this character and made him evil. In Ken Pender's lore, Innerjack was the big bad of Echidna society. So it's kind of fucked that Flynn took Knuckles, who is the greatest guardian his people had ever had, and made him the greatest evil. This is just another twist turn to evil that Ian Flynn loves to do, and he will do this again. And if we've been counting right, this is the 3rd time that he did this. First it was with Tommy Turtle, then it was with Fiona, now it's Knuckles. These characters just randomly turn evil. Issue 184, and it's Knuckles' turn to lose a father. R.I.P. Locke. He lasted from 1996 to 2008. This brings our death count up to 9. And just like many other characters, he dies and turns to dust. But before he dies, Ian Flynn thinks that it's necessary for you to see how much pain he is in as he is dying. In this comic, intended for children. Issue 200, and it's our first milestone. And just like all the other Ian Flynn issues, it is unnecessarily dark. The idea of Eggman going crazy because he couldn't beat Sonic is just fine. I just find it disturbing that it's 4 pages long and goes as far to show Eggman ripping off his own mustache. And you can see here, he falls out of it, he starts screaming, he starts twitching, he pulls at his mustache and rips it off. Sonic is even cringing from the sight. And then he just starts speaking gibberish, trying to swing at him, falls down to the ground, and everyone feels bad for him as he is literally a drooling mess. And Snively says, "You broke him." What a wonderful thing for a kid's comic. And this is where we will leave off for now. See you guys later when I try to wrap up Flynn's pre-reboot run of the Archie comics. That was our little discussion. We looked through a lot of the comics that Flynn did. We went through 160 to 200. Hopefully you guys liked this. Hopefully you got some insightful information from all of this. If you guys want to see more comic discussions like this or more Sonic discussions like this, be sure to hit the like button. If you really like this video, share it around. It helps a lot. And if you want to see more stuff like this, then subscribe. Thank you guys for watching, and bye. Before the credits roll, I thought I'd give a shout out to my multiple ways of making money. YouTube is starting to slowly sanitize the platform, making it harder for people to make money on edgier content like I do. So I'm reminding you guys that I have a Patreon. The Patreon has plenty of reward tiers, including seeing my podcast early and possibly getting onto the show if I can fit that into the schedule. I have video recommendation tiers that you can try to get into, and if all else fails and my YouTube falls apart, I always have a BitChute account. So remember to check out all these different things in the description below.